Well, welcome everyone. My name is Liam Larkin. I'm the head of partnerships at ResortPass, and I am super excited to host this panel today with some of our closest partners to talk about our topic, which is tapping into the potential of the day guest. And so without further ado, I'd like to turn it over to each of you, and if you guys wanted to go ahead and introduce yourselves and tell us a bit about your role.
Sure. Good morning, everybody. I'm Jessica Shea, and I'm the VP of Spa, Wellness, Retail, and Leisure Operations for Hilton for the hotels that we manage in the Americas.
Good morning. My name is Harasiuk. I'm Director of Hospitality Revenue Management for Caesars Entertainment. My team oversees pricing for everything outside of hotel rooms, so pools, sports books, spas, parking, and we assist with restaurant reservation management as well.
Good morning. My name is Christoph McLaughlin. I serve as the Vice President of Asset Management Strategy for Ashford, Inc. My team oversees financial analytics, business intelligence, property tax, strategy, real estate development, and basically just a paid mercenary for the company to get things done.
Fantastic. Well, before we dive into the conversation, I just wanted to kind of set the stage, because what we've seen over the past year is that day guesting has gone mainstream. And so we've seen this through a number of major media publications highlighting the trend, including the New York Times, Washington Post, Forbes, the Today Show, among many others. And we've certainly seen this at ResortPass. We've actually had over 5 million guests who have booked day guest experiences to our hotel partners and have over 1,800 hotel partners throughout North America. And it's part of a growing trend that I know you've heard earlier today, but people are looking for experiences. And specifically, they're looking for experiences for opportunities to rest and relax and recharge. And we actually surveyed guests, and what we saw was that 80% of the respondents said that one single day off left them recharged. That's our kind of goal. If you can't have a vacation, we want to give you a daycation when you can spend the day and rest, relax, and recharge. And so we are hyper-focused on the day guest. And I have here just some statistics from, some statistics from ResortPass about who the day guest is and what we see. And it tends to be female, tends to be between the ages of 35 and 50, with a high household income. And so we're seeing folks who have disposable income that they're looking to spend on experiences. And this is also kind of two core archetypes that we are seeing are the millennials, so the dinks, the double income, no kids, and the singles, as well as multitasking moms. And in different markets, we actually see one of those groups kind of more dominant than the other. So for example, in Florida and Arizona, where we see a lot of water parks and resorts, moms are looking to take their kids for a daycation experience at a hotel. And then in urban markets like New York or LA, where I'm based, or here in Vegas, it tends to be millennials who want a day at the pool, they want a day at the spa, either as a couple or by themselves. And this is across both locals and travelers. So the local application, you could think of, I live in LA, I live in West Hollywood, I'm surrounded by 25 to 30 luxury hotels with amazing pools. There was really no reason for me to go and stay at the hotel overnight, but when I have the opportunity to go there and spend the day for the day, I can have that opportunity to rest and relax there. And then the traveler, you can think of, we see hotel hoppers, so people who are staying at one hotel and want to go and use another hotel's amenities. We also see guests that are staying in Airbnbs and VRBOs, and it's a great way for hotels to tap into that segment that's now booking the vacation rental houses. And then also people who are actually going through their travel. So in Vegas, for example, we see people who are checking out of their hotel at 11 and have hours to kill before their flight out in the evening. And they're using ResortPass to go to different properties, try out their pool, and try out their spa before they head out. Similarly, we're actually seeing right now a big boom in cruise business. So in markets like Florida and the Caribbean and Mexico, when the cruise ships are getting back, they've got time to kill before their flight leaves. Or if they're stopping in the Bahamas or Cozumel or Puerto Rico, they're using a nice resort there for the day. So that's kind of setting the stage that I wanted to do, show you a little bit about ResortPass, what we're seeing. But what I'm really excited about is to get their take on what they're seeing and how they're tapping into the day guest. So, first question, would love to just know, who are you seeing as day guests at your properties, and why should hoteliers care about the non-overnight guest? Jessica, you want to start off?
I'll start with why hoteliers should care about the non-overnight guests. If everybody's been listening over the last few days and what's going to happen today, there's a couple sides of it. One of them is, we're facing a challenging year ahead potentially with occupancies and room rates. So from a financial perspective, it makes a lot more sense to try to get more people into our hotels to spend money. So that's one of the reasons why we care. I'd say the other reason is because why not open the doors up to the communities we operate and serve? There's just a huge opportunity for the hotels to feel more part of the local places that they're in. I think it's not a new concept to open up restaurants, bars, et cetera, but it hasn't really been a focus, especially in the US. So I think this is the perfect time of kind of need and opportunity that are coming together to welcome more people into our spaces in appropriate times.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah, I'd like to echo that. One of the other themes through this conference is the growth of the experience economy, and we're able to offer day guests who might be checking out early, or maybe locals or visitors from other resorts, the opportunity to visit our pools, maybe one of our sport books, or even a really high demand experience at our restaurants like Hell's Kitchen by creating this opportunity to book for a small part of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just would like to add, the demographics that we're seeing coming in are actually mostly locals.
Yeah.
I have a personal experience on this myself. My girlfriend and I, during the summer, we actually were trying to go to different hotels and check out their pools, and we'd never used ResortPass, even though they had been in a lot of our portfolio. And so the Hilton down the street from my house has a phenomenal water experience. So we actually spent the day there, and so apparently I fit into this whole demographic as millennials and going and doing these experiences.
The dinks.
The dinks. And I think that is a huge part of the market that's coming in, are these people who just want to use the experience in a very brief moment. And from the ownership side, something that we were very concerned about before we entered this space was, well, does that take away from the revenue that we could be getting by someone just coming and staying at the hotel? And that's not what we've seen. What we've seen is that this is all incremental to that. We're not losing these guests at our hotel by offering this.
I love that, because that was literally the next question that I had, which was, some people in this audience might think similarly, right? That a day guest program could have a negative impact on the overnight guest that's staying at the hotel. And so would love to just understand how you guys think about that issue, and what are you doing to ensure a high quality of day guest?
I think you have to approach it strategically. This isn't a set it and forget it kind of situation. Of course, we don't want anybody's experience to be compromised, whether it's the overnight guest or the day guest. We're in the business of hospitality. Anybody who comes into our doors should have an excellent guest experience, especially when we're talking about luxury. So you have to rely on good systems, inventory management, revenue management. You have to be able to watch this and open it up when it makes sense, and maybe shut it down when it doesn't. It's just like we do with rooms, right? It's applying all those same philosophies to these amenity spaces. So there is a really nice synergy that can happen when it's approached strategically.
For sure. And at Caesars, our philosophy is to deliver family-style service to all the guests who step foot on property. So I think it's more of an opportunity to convert these day guests into repeat guests for these day opportunities, or perhaps future overnight stays.
Yeah.
Yeah, the other thing I think it's worth noting is these amenities are built to a capacity already, right? And so we're turning this amenity on, or this service on, when we're not hitting that capacity. But if the hotel's already sold out, the guest experience is the exact same if you're having the same number of people using these amenities.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think it's really interesting in the luxury space as well, because we've really pushed hotels to test price points. And see how high can you actually drive these price points. And there are many hotels that are selling passes just to access the property for $250, right, to use the pool for the day, and cabanas for well upwards of $2,000 for a group of people. So these are rates that can end up being considerable, like similar to room rates for a lot of properties. So on that note, I guess would love to hear how you think about the revenue impact of day guests.
I think Christoph said it really well. It's all incremental. It's all in addition to. And so again, if it's handled appropriately and strategically, you're having lots of additional revenue come in. And of course, there's the day passes and the cabanas, but the spend in food and beverage is really, really high. I mean, nobody's going for a day at the pool and drinking water all day. Most people. So, if you come with kids and a family, I mean, there's a lot of spend potential there. So as long again as it's managed appropriately, especially in the luxury setting, I think it's really actually important. I would also say, nobody historically has walked into a bar and said, oh, that's a hotel guest, that's a day guest, that's a hotel guest. And yet we want people in our bars to create a lively atmosphere. Nobody wants to walk into an empty bar. Right. I'd say the same thing for a lot of time around the pool. I mean, you may have a group in-house and they're all in meetings all day and your pool's sitting empty. You open up this opportunity to welcome locals in to spend some money. It just creates a buzz and a vibe that kind of brings energy and attracts more people to the property in general.
Yeah, I love that.
For sure. You can really amplify that by offering like day part experiences for those day guests. So maybe there is a group who is having a conference in the morning, bring them in for the afternoon or vice versa, or the guests might want to come in for the morning before they fly out that afternoon. Las Vegas is really interesting because we've been working with day guests for at least the last decade. So this business has become more than ancillary for us. We work it into our strategies. Like that's how we create our budgets for our food and beverage departments, our pools, and we work that into the hotel component as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing to note here is I think people are looking for these experiences, right? We're doing things as simple as just having a s'mores experience at our Ritz Tahoe, or allowing people to bring their dogs to the bar at our hotels in Napa. And people just want that experience. They're willing to pay for it. And from our perspective, this is high margin revenue.
Right. Yeah, and in the term, from what we see from ResortPass, is typically the revenue that we're driving through a day pass or a cabana ends up being doubled in the amount of F&B spend, to Jessica's point, at a minimum. So I know personally, I've done that where I go, and yes, I did not have water. Margaritas is more like. But on the note about revenue, I'm curious how you think about the impact that revenue can have, and the investment strategy in your amenities. Has that changed the way you think about investing in amenities? Sure, we'll just go down the road.
Just keep doing
working.
it. Okay.
We can get going.
So there's some great stories that have come out of our hotels in this topic that we've opened up the opportunity for day guests to come in. The spend has been great, and then the hotel is able to go to ownership and say, we need another cabana, or I need a pickleball court. Like you can read the pulse of the guest that's coming in, and it's actually driven revenue into improving the space or building new amenity spaces, to your point. Yeah. I'd say the same is true for spas. Spas a lot of the time, we can take in more people. A lot of times they're not even close to capacity. So if you manage it properly, you can drive more revenue and then improve the space. So it's sort of a win-win.
For sure. We've been investing hundreds of millions of dollars in our properties the last 4 years or so because of the opportunity to improve the guest experience for day guests, for overnight guests. For example, Caesars Atlantic City, we just redid the entire property, $400 million renovation project there for the hotel rooms, our pools, an incredible rooftop pool overlooking the boardwalk and the ocean. We just built a new tower at Caesars New Orleans, and right now we're working on a full pool renovation at Flamingo Las Vegas. And in my not so biased opinion, I think it's going to be the best pool experience on the center strip. So I think those are all just great testaments to show what these guest experiences can bring in for a revenue opportunity.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I would say on the ownership side, our investment thesis has started to change because of this. I mean, when we bought our hotel in Scottsdale, the Four Seasons, there is a plot of land that we acquired with the hotel, and when we acquired the hotel, that was part of the thesis, was we already know that they're at capacity for their spa, they're at capacity for some of their other services for fitness, and their pools. What can we do with that space to go ahead and continue to get that incremental revenue and bring more people in to that space?
Yeah, and I guess we should just stay on that topic because historically, I think hotels have been super focused on room revenue. And it seems like there's been an industry shift more towards total revenue. So I'm curious, maybe we can kick that off with you, Christoph.
Sure.
Just in terms of how do day guests fit into the total revenue of a luxury property?
Yeah, I mean, look, room revenue is where we make our bread and butter, right? But I think that what's been challenging about room revenue is in order to make an immediate change at the hotel, it takes time. Like, there is no immediate change, right? Like, your strategy can shift, but us to know whether or not that strategy is working takes time. These ancillary revenues, and I mean, everyone hates talking about parking, but the reality is that increasing a parking rate does impact the hotel's bottom line immediately. But there's tons of them. My team went and did an audit of all of our ancillary revenues throughout our properties, and then realized that they were rolled out very inconsistently. The brands don't have standards on all of these. And we had a Marriott over here charging this number and this number, or they didn't charge it at all. And there were 82 different revenue streams. We standardized them across our portfolio and added $80 million of value to our portfolio on an AUM basis.
And I think you were mentioning earlier that it's also sometimes easier to make changes across the other segments rather than room revenue.
Yeah, I think we were talking about this yesterday, is that my team is largely in charge of a lot of these initiatives, and we selected 43 new ones 3 weeks ago, and we will have all of them complete before the end of this year.
Maybe we can do a reverse. We'll go Derek.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Really similar to Christoph, we have developed an entire department that is focused on expanding revenue in non-hotel room, non-gaming areas. So it's been, for the last 7-8 years, continuous year-over-year growth for us, around 11 to 12% each year.
Nice.
Again, we focus on all of those areas like the pool cabanas, the spa treatments, the parking solutions, where we're looking at it similar to how airlines might price their seats, and just kind of reapplying that logic and mentality.
Yeah. I know you've been focused on total revenue for a long time, so.
Yeah, I mean, I've always believed if we can take even a small fraction of the energy, resources, intelligence, strategy that we apply to rooms revenue and just sort of redirect that at other areas of the hotel, I mean, think about what's possible. You know, it's always been sort of other.
Yeah.
I love how it's always categorized as other. But it is, to your point, I mean, what you guys are doing is really impressive because there's a lot of opportunity there if the right resources and attention are put on it.
Yeah, great. On the topic of wellness, would love to just hear, how does wellness factor into your strategy for attracting guests? We can start with you on that, Jessica.
I would say, you started by saying that people are looking to rest and recharge and relax, and actually our trends report from this year, we do a lot of customer analytics, and the number one reason people were traveling in 2024 was to rest and recharge, right? So to me, that's wellness. I mean, wellness has a very broad term, and you can define it in very many different ways, but you just want to feel good, you want to feel at your best, and that's not just travelers, that's people, that's all of us. So this, to your point, offers locals or travelers to the destination opportunity to rest and to recharge by coming to a cabana, coming to a pool, or coming to a spa. This has been a big part of this as well. You know, we in hotels, this is a wide brush statement, don't do a great job of marketing to locals because it's not our core business. So this offers an opportunity to reach people that we would otherwise not reach and give them the chance to experience wellness, spa, rest, relaxation, recharging in spaces that were built for that.
Right.
So it's really exciting.
Yeah, and we've seen that. We've surveyed our guests, and the number one thing that they've told us they want more of is more spa. So we are actively adding more spa onto ResortPass, and it's one of our fastest growing product SKUs. So, Derek, how does wellness factor into your strategy?
Yeah, so at Caesars, we've developed what is called the Caesars Wellness Program, which is kind of targeting our group business. So it can be something as simple as offering healthy menus for the lunches, breakfast, dinners that they're offered. We've even offered like poolside yoga as a way to start the day fresh, clear the minds. And then, of course, we're always trying to give them opportunity to come to our spas, utilize our treatments, and then, of course, hang out by the pool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's been a huge shift post-pandemic towards the health and wellness and industry in general, but especially within the hospitality space. And from our investment perspective, it has shifted how we're looking at these things. I mean, our Four Seasons and our Tahoe and our Ritz Sarasota have huge spas. And so we're trying to find ways to amplify those experiences for our guests.
And I know labor is always a hot topic issue in the hospitality industry. So I'm curious if day guests impact your labor strategy in any way. I don't know if anybody wants to jump into that one.
I can start. I would say yes, but it's become really consistent for us over the past decade because we've really started to leverage the reporting that our day guests have offered us through ResortPass and other partners. So we use that to forecast the demand we'll have at each of these venues and share that with our operators so they can staff up or staff down as needed.
Yeah, I mean, within our hotels, you do see a small incremental use or increase in labor, but it's already baked into the pricing when we're bringing people in. We anticipate that. But I would say that more importantly, there's a lot of fixed costs with all these amenities already. And so you actually see it starting to flatten out across each of the guests when you actually increase the volume.
Right. Have you noticed any?
Yeah, I mean, I'll use spa as an example. As some of you may know, it can be really challenging to find and retain massage therapists or, people who are doing specialized work like that. And one of the reasons is because of the fluctuations in business. It's not reliable sometimes. So if you can create that consistency for people, you're going to give them more work and they're going to stay longer. It's a pretty simple equation. So the busier we can be, the more people are going to stay.
Yeah. It's a really interesting point. We've heard that from many of our partners that it allows them to provide more consistent staffing in certain markets where they might, have to cut their pool staff during certain times of the year. If they've got additional guests coming from ResortPass, they're able to keep that staff happy.
For sure.
Curious about hotel owners. I don't know, we got one here. But is there been any resistance to day guest programs from hotel ownership?
On the hotel ownership side, outside of what we discussed earlier, which is, just wanting to make sure it doesn't impact other revenue streams, we've been embracing it, full-heartedly. We've talked about it a lot through this conversation, which is just how high the margins are. Yep. Oftentimes where we see any type of resistance is usually we'll find an experience that we want to roll out and just trying to push it through our brand partners, but they generally work with us if we can establish that it fits within kind of the vision and the theme of the property.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. It's fully part of our strategy to incorporate the day guests into all of our F&B areas or pool areas. But when we roll these things out, we do customize the approach for each market because Las Vegas is a beast, but our other regions are very, very different. Their guests are very, very different. So we just have to take that different approach and maybe focus on the offering, whether it's a rental fee, maybe it's a food and beverage minimum, that kind of thing. We'll tailor it that way.
Yeah, and I know you deal with a lot of hotel owners. Have you?
Yeah, it's very similar. I think in the past and maybe even pre-COVID, I wouldn't call it so much resistance as prioritization. There's only so much energy to go around and what you're expending it into. And I think now more and more owners, to your point, see a lot of the benefit, and it can be more of a priority and less fear around, it is going to, hurt room revenue. I haven't heard that one in a while. So.
Do you feel like the pandemic impacted that to an extent, just that prioritization and how owners think about it?
I think the pandemic shook everything up. So yeah, I do. I just think, people are looking for owners are looking for more opportunity to make money out of their assets, and we're trying to serve that up in a thoughtful way.
Yeah, after the pandemic, we saw surges in guests who were looking for the ability to leave their house, whether it's local coming here or just starting to travel again, and that was a real surge in business for us in these day areas.
Yeah.
I think Jessica's point's right. It was often just prioritization.
Yeah.
And when we're looking at all these initiatives, we do prioritize them based off of size. And I had my team poll how much we've actually earned off of some of these day guests just through ResortPass. And we have just a select group of hotels right now. I think we have 8 originally. We just onboarded another 8 last week. But this year alone, they produced, on a net basis to us, $465,000. So that means our AUM, if you take like an 8 cap, is approximately $6 million in increased value to our portfolio.
Yeah. And we're expanding to the rest of the portfolio too. So
And
it's
big,
only going
and
to grow
big
from
ones
there.
too. All of our resort hotels. So,
Well, that's great. And I think, you know, my last question, I guess, and then we can kind of open it up to the audience for questions, is just around kind of thinking about the future. So maybe 5, 10 years down the road. How do you envision that hotels will embrace the day guest thinking forward?
I mean, as we've discussed, I think there's just a lot of benefit for bringing day guests into the ecosystem when you do it smartly. I think we are very much at the beginning of this. I mean, we're all nodding our heads and we know what this is. But many people don't even know it's a thing. They don't even know it's possible. Or maybe they just sneak in on vacation and hope nobody catches them without a wristband. But they don't know they can do it, you know, do it above board. And I think it's just going to grow and grow and grow and grow. And again, what a wonderful thing to be able to offer to people that they can have access to these things. So I just think we're at the beginning of the journey, and it's going to continue to grow from here.
Yeah, certainly with ResortPass, you know, part of that onus is on us to raise awareness about the day guests, and we're doing a lot of exciting things in the marketing front. Talked about some of the media, the exposure that we've seen over this past year, but we continue to survey just the general public and see that the majority of people still don't know that you can go to a hotel for the day. And so that we are very much, to Jessica's point, I'd say at the beginning stages of this.
For sure. And the great thing about ResortPass is becoming a massive marketplace. So similar to hotels where we are utilizing OTAs to fill our hotel rooms, I think we'll start to utilize business like ResortPass to fill our day guest areas.
And even outside of ResortPass, is there anything that you think, just in terms of day guests, the kind of vision for, I mean, in Vegas, for example, like you said, it's kind of been this way for a decade.
Right.
Around F&B, around anything else that you can think of, just like how hotels will embrace the day guests?
I kind of alluded to it earlier. I think looking at the day parts is going to be a massive focus for us. Yeah. Understanding that each guest might have a different schedule or different priorities. So that's going to be a big thing for us. We've tested it this year, and it was phenomenal. I think we grew our revenue by about 11% just by adding those day parts instead of only offering full day experiences.
And by day part, you mean like they can just book the morning, they could just book the afternoon?
Yeah, exactly.
Instead of forcing
full day or night swim at some pools.
And by that, you get full utilization.
Yep, we'll just turn it like a restaurant table.
That's awesome. Christoph, what do you think when you think of the vision of how hotels will embrace day guests, you know, a few years in the future?
yeah, I mean, I think this cultural shift for owners is great news. I mean, I think that we will get to a point where you see hotels as not just a place to stay, it's a place you go for the experience with the option to stay if you want to be staying there. But again, like, these are all incremental revenues to all of us, and so we're embracing it because I think that this is the best news for us, is that people want to do this.
Yeah. I think it also allows hotels to really become a part of the community as well, right? I think you made that point earlier, but a spot where the local community feels welcome, rather than a spot where you might walk by, 10 hotels if you live in New York or LA especially, or here in Vegas, and just feel like you have no real reason to go visit it. Might open it up to the community a bit more.
Yeah, I was thinking, as you were talking, it's not a lot of other businesses where you profile who uses your services. And hotels have notoriously done that, right? And so I spent a lot of time in Asia, and in Asia, it's very much part of the community. Like the big hotels in the cities are where you go for pools and dinners and spas and all these things. It's sort of more of a US thing that we've put up these, barriers to coming in as a local. So it's just exciting to see that dissolving. Absolutely.
Well, those are the questions that we had, so we'd love to open it up to the audience. And there we go, we got a question. Ariel, do you want to pass the mic?
Thank you. That was really interesting. I'm coming from another side. I'm an ex-hotelier, and now I'm in the travel industry of luxury. Have you ever thought about partnering the day pass with an airline or a lounge experience, So part of their package includes the first part of the luxury journey starting with yourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. We are going through in-depth conversations internally right now on how we can customize the guest experience by allowing them to package their journey from when they're booking their airline to choosing their hotel room and then making their dining reservation, their pool reservation, their spa treatment reservation. So we're looking to really give them the opportunity to package that all at once and capture them right when they're looking at their journey.
Yeah, and from ResortPass's perspective, we've also had conversations with airlines because there's that application where somebody might be have a layover, right, for 6 hours, and we work with a lot of airport hotels where guests can go and just use those hotel amenities, go right back. They take the shuttle to the hotel, take the shuttle back to the airline, and then have that kind of experience during their travel period.
Awesome. So I'm curious to hear thoughts on the kind of juxtaposition between membership strategies and day pass strategies, because there's a lot of similarities that kind of tie in there. And in luxury, right, it's access, right? Like you're giving access to things. So just a very broad question, like what are there thoughts around that, or would love to hear it?
I think, again, it comes down to prioritization and resources. Like if you can pull off a really successful, robust, exclusive membership program, and that creates such volume that you may not have room for a day pass. I mean that could be great, but I don't know a lot of hotels that are doing that to that level or doing it particularly well. Membership obviously is a great, can be great for the bottom line, but as probably a lot of you know, it can operationally be a real challenge. So I think you do have to. It's all about capacity and access, right? So you just have to sort of weigh out for your property what makes the most sense.
It's also about the inclusions, right? Because I mean, we have hotels that have both. Right? They have people coming in to use the amenities and have memberships, and it doesn't detract from the revenue that we're producing from the members. Some of the memberships are capped, and we're sold out altogether. And we still have, for example, tee times at our golf course are usually 50% utilization. Well, the memberships are capped. As well as with our spa services, that is included in the membership program, but there's a bunch of things included in the membership program. So having somebody use the spa that one day and coming in and paying a premium for it, that's okay.
Yeah, and similar to Christoph, we now work with 1,800 different resorts, and many of them actually have membership programs. One of the interesting things that I learned from our partners was they actually see ResortPass as a way to sell more memberships because they're able to bring somebody in, show them the property, they're already a local, and then that guest maybe is going to turn into somebody who wants to become a member. And obviously there's a higher cost associated with that typically, but you're able to expose yourself to new guests that might be interested in that.
For sure. For us, we have a large loyalty program, and I think giving us the opportunity to convert a day guest into that loyalty program and to be able to remarket to them is extremely powerful, not just for the area they might be primarily interested in, but all the other ones like the restaurants, the hotel itself, maybe gaming.
Great point. Oh, I think we have here and then here. We're here first, sorry.
What you just said, Derek, leads into my question a little bit about how long, if you've had long enough to really see the data of people who have stayed for a day, had time at the pool, how long it took for them to actually become a guest, as well as if you're seeing like just on the short term as well as the long term, if you're seeing younger people with lower incomes that get to come have these smaller experiences, then they move into another income bracket. Now they're like a serious target and you were able to get them early as opposed to your competitors.
In my personal experience, this is something that we're actively working on right now. So it's really exciting for us. There's a ton of data out there we haven't fully utilized, but we're looking to do so.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that we've seen, anecdotally, mostly through reviews, but we want to capture it in more of a data way, is that people will go and use the hotel for the day, and they'll actually return as an overnight guest, right? So it's actually a way to drive more overnight bookings as well, because you're exposing your property again to somebody who otherwise wouldn't be staying there. And I think it's kind of changing the definition of what a guest is at a hotel, right? So if the guest that's coming to use the pool is a guest, right, then next time they might just come and you stay overnight, but maybe they'll come back and use the spa. Maybe they'll try these different things at the property.
I would also just add that, at least from what we're seeing initially, I think it could be very different once that we get all the data, but you're not seeing huge income gaps because they're dynamic, right? Our full-service Marriott that has ResortPass installed at the property is very different than our Ritz-Carlton Reserve Dorado Beach. And somebody having a cabana there, that is a very different priced cabana than what it is at this Marriott.
Great point.
I have one built. What is your strategy in terms of that ancillary revenue that we're seeking, especially like in a new market? Do you at an F&B minimum, do you discount to maybe incentivize? Like, I think we all toy with this, how to do it. So maybe like what's been the win or strategy, or how does it shift?
I think one of the most successful things we've seen is packaging it and add value versus discounting. And I think the dynamic pricing of that, you package it together and you fluctuate pricing based on your capacity and seasonality or time of day or whatever it is. That's been the most successful versus, and again, this is sort of property by property. Like every guest is different, but sometimes you set a food and beverage minimum, and it's like, why? They were going to spend that anyway, right? So you have to think about the psychology of the people you're targeting and why they're coming to that particular hotel.
For sure. Yeah, I agree with that. We do it property by property. Also just creating that accessibility for those guests where they might not have had it before. Some guests don't want to call the call center or the outlet themselves, but if they can do it at their fingertips, that's going to create the opportunity to capture their business and keep them coming back.
Good morning. My question is, I guess, more tailored to being a hotel manager when you are dealing with the challenges of not having that amenity. For example, with Las Vegas, our pools are seasonal.
Yeah.
So it is always the question of, well, when is the pool open? And we only have it, for like half of the year. What other amenities or what are ways around that can you work to provide to bring in the day guests, or even in our locals here in Vegas? How do you combat that, I guess kind of lack of the amenities that are provided? How do you bring that in so that way they are attracted to even come year round?
I agree that seasonality plays a huge factor in it. So we will do a lot of marketing for pools during the summer or right before the summer. And we're aware that once the temperature falls below 70, those guests aren't going to come outside. Unless you're from Canada like me. Yeah. But, at that point, we start to remarket for our spas. We have a lot of venues that offer sport viewing. So we try to tailor it based on those different seasons. Like football season is massive for us, March Madness, and the spring is big for us right before pools open. So we'll work with our marketing partners on offers for those areas as an alternative.
I think it's also, I can't speak to Vegas specifically, but it's also just about creativity and using what your asset has to offer. I mean, I think I mentioned during this conversation that, at our Park High Beaver Creek and our Ritz Tahoe, they have a s'mores experience. Like, that really gets you into that mood of being in this log cabin, right? And we have the dogs that are showing up to our Napa Valley hotels, and our Four Seasons has stargazing, and people pay for that service. It's just about identifying what the strengths are of your asset and then leaning heavily into that side and finding a way to capitalize on it.
For sure. You'll see a lot of pop-ups like skating on the pools in the winter here, or those igloo-style cabanas, for example, with the fire pits and F&B offerings. I think those are a great way to utilize space when maybe the water isn't warm enough. The space isn't designed for it like that way.
Yeah, and what we've seen on ResortPass is that those experiences, which I think hotels have actually been doing for a long time for hotel guests, they're just now putting them on ResortPass or putting them out to day guests. And so they're exposing them to a new channel. So, for example, s'mores or the igloos or activities, events that they might be putting on. Historically, maybe they've just held those for the guests that are staying at the hotel, but now this is a new channel where they can drive additional demand to those.
Thanks. Potentially piggybacking on what you guys were talking about, do you see like high quality local live music or even headline live music as a potential day guest offering, like ticketed shows, themed events, that kind of thing? Obviously, there's Fever, which is, you know, a parallel to ResortPass, but like focused on particularly music and those kind of experiences. If you could speak to that, if you see that as a good opportunity.
I know we were talking the other day about a property in Dallas that was doing like DJs.
Yeah.
You were going to some of those.
Yeah. So I actually think that this is a great point. I don't think that the hospitality industry capitalizes on this enough. I was actually in Houston talking to someone that's not in the hospitality space. They actually have a service that's similar to baseball, but well, it's baseball, but it's called Home Run Dugout, and it's similar to Topgolf. Okay. They were telling me through our lunch that during some of the weekends, they actually shut down their entire business, their like brick and mortar business. They shut it down to host concerts because they've made more money on that during the weekends than bringing families in for that very service. And that we could capitalize on that in the hospitality space. We have the venues for it. Why aren't we capitalizing on it? So I do think, to your point, like, that is a space to grow into. Yeah.
For sure. In Laughlin, we have a couple of properties. One of them is on the river, and we'll do beach concerts there during the summer and some of the fall, spring times. And it brings in locals, it brings in some of our players who are really interested in those artists, or might be there for another promotion. I think that's a great draw-in as well.
Hi, good morning. That's maybe for Liam. So, all-inclusive hotels, any success story of day passes in all-inclusive hotels, mainly in the Caribbean?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, the cruise business that I was referencing earlier, we've seen a ton of success there with all-inclusive, some in the Hyatt portfolio. I'm sorry, Hilton. Wow.
The other H.
And no longer a close partner, no. Within the Hilton all-inclusive portfolio, a lot of all-inclusive properties there. Yeah, I think it's a different pricing strategy, right? Because you're not, getting the additional F&B revenue that's coming in that non-all-inclusives are. So they generally have higher price points because they're going all in, right? And so we make it really clear on their listings that it is an all-inclusive and that everything that is included in that higher price point. But yeah, guests are eager to do it. They're looking for that experience, and all-inclusive resorts are probably the best to really give it because they already have everything that guests are looking for. Whether, generally they have resort spas, they've got all the F&B outlets, they've got pools and cabanas and everything. So we see a lot of success with it.
Yeah, I would agree. And, as you know, in all-inclusive, you're looking for ways to strategize and drive non-package revenue, and spa is a big one, and having day guests come in. And the patterns of all-inclusive guests are sort of, you can kind of predict them and see where people are going. Well, where are people moving to during certain times of day? So it offers up a really good opportunity to revenue manage, inventory manage it appropriately to drive where you need the business.
Hello. I know that the hotel has the ability to turn ResortPass on and off at all times. I'm just wondering, from the hotel's perspective, is there a certain capacity, 80, 85%, 95%, where you turn it off, or you look at that pretty often to see how much inventory you can sell and not sell? And is there a threshold where you actually turn it off when you're at that high a capacity?
I'll start.
Manager,
sure. Yeah.
expert.
I don't know that I have a percentage in mind, but we'll watch our pacing reports really closely each week for all of our inventory, and we'll kind of gauge based on if we are pacing ahead of where we're setting our thresholds for success, and if we are going to be below that, we might add more availability. We might do another push. We might change rates. But if we are pacing ahead, we might limit that a bit more. So that's the great thing about partners like ResortPass. We can monitor and change that all in real time.
And what we've heard from other hotels too is that it depends on the type of the guest, right? So we're all here at this hotel, but we're sitting in a conference room all day. So if you have like group travel, just because your occupancy is high doesn't necessarily mean those people are actually using the pool that day. And so if you see, if it's a high leisure, sure, limit ResortPass, increase the price. But if it's high business traveler, open up. And so analyzing the type of guest to decide how much to open.
And I think that's a really key point just from the operational perspective. I mean, the biggest success we've seen is it's somebody making these decisions who understands the pattern and behaviors and flow of the guests in the hotel, and what, not just beyond just the occupancy, but like truly what the guest behavior is. And if you just leave it, no offense to like wonderful pool supervisors out there, but if you leave it to a pool supervisor who may not have that information, that's when I think it can challenge the overnight guest experience. It has to be strategic and approached from a revenue management perspective.
For sure.
Yeah, we let our GMs usually determine what that's going to be. So it's hard for me to say what the threshold would be. It's different by property. But to Jessica's point, all of the GMs that we've spoken to about this, they're very opinionated on when it should be turned on and off. And they'll say, well, this time of the year, we have no space in our spa or a pool. Great, don't have it on. It's already filled. The rest of the year, we still have more people we can bring in.
And then we actually see a lot of last-minute bookings through ResortPass as well. So there's a great opportunity to just flick it on when you see that there's leftover space, even same day. We actually see about 25% of bookings coming in same day. So, yeah.
We're just about at time, so if anyone has like one burning last question, now's the time for that question. And if not, then maybe just some parting words, Liam.
I'll leave with what I said before, which is really just that we're just the beginning stages of the rise of the day guests in hospitality. And the reason that ResortPass exists is because of that, right? We wouldn't be here if it weren't for people seeking out the opportunity to spend the day at the hotel. And so thank you so much to this amazing panel and these great partners that we have. And if anybody has any questions, feel free to come up afterwards, and we'll be happy to talk about it.
Thank you.
Thank you.